Welcome to the General Data Protection Regulation GDPR online course. Lesson 2 addresses the civil and administrative penalties and how to determine the criteria of the fine. The lesson objectives are explaining the civil and administrative penalties. The lesson will help you to understand the risks associated with data breaches in the healthcare sector and learn how to implement robust security practices to safeguard patient data, reducing the risk of data breaches. Administrative sanctions. If there is one thing that people know about the GDPR, it's that GDPR fines, administrative fines, can go up to 20 million euros or 4% of annual global turnover, whichever or both is highest. In the event of unlawful data processing, the GDPR now provides in Article 83, paragraph 3 and 4 of the regulations the breach of which entails administrative fines which the regulation imposes. Both the breach of the obligations of the controller and the processor and a breach of the provisions on the basic principles of processing, such as the rights of the data subject, the transfer of personal data to a third country or international organization, any obligations under the law of the member state, and to assure the suspension of data flows imposed by the supervisory authority. In addition, the European Court of Human Rights has adopted 3 criteria, the Engel criteria, for classifying a sanction as a penalty. The first criterion is the very classification of the infringement under national law. The second criterion refers to the circle of persons to whom the rule of law is addressed and the purpose of the sanction, compensation or damage, while the third relates to the nature and gravity of the sanction. Sanctions mechanism in practice. The GDPR has several penalties and several sanctions which can be applied by the Data Protection Authority and sometimes can simply be combined as the illustration of the sanction mechanism below shows. Although the focus in this graphic is mainly from the perspective of the DPA and the case. 1. If there is suspicion that a country doesn't respect GDPR rules, and 2. The DPA analyzes the case and, if the company respects the rules, there is of course no action taken by the DPA. If some rule is breached and does require a sanction depending on the context we tackle in this article, the DPA can decide 1. To take another sanction such as a reprimand and temporary or definitive ban on processing, a suspension of data flows to a recipient in a third country and so forth, or to impose an administrative fine depending on the infringement. A fine can be up to 4% of the company's worldwide annual turnover or up to 20 million euros, whichever is higher. And indeed, in some cases, a fine can be combined with some of those other sanctions. Paragraph 2 of Article 83 of the GDPR sets out in great detail the criteria for determining the amount of the fine, which must be in any way, an event, effective, proportionate and dissuasive according to paragraph 1 of the same article. Criteria for determining the fine. According to the regulation, the criteria for determining the fine shall be duly taken into account as well as the existence of fraud or negligence that caused it. The criteria for determining the fine listed in the regulation are the nature, gravity, the duration of the infringement, scope, purpose of the processing concerned, the number of data subjects affected by the breach, the degree of damage suffered by them, the fraudulent or negligent nature of the breach, any actions taken by the controller or processor to mitigate the damage, the age of liability of the controller or processor, and the technical and organizational measures they apply under Articles 25 and 34. Previous infringements by the controller or processor, cooperation with the supervisory authority in remedying the breach, categories of personal data, how the supervisory authority has informed of the breach, compliance with those measures, compliance with approved codes of conduct or approved certification mechanisms, any other aggravating or mitigated circumstance arising from the events of a specific case, the economic benefits obtained or the damage avoided directly or indirectly as a result of the infringement. Questionnaire. Please proceed to test your acquired knowledge with the following questionnaire. Thank you for participating in Module 8, Lesson 2.